Hi, I'm Dr. Hawkins and welcome back. I've entitled this one to be Roadblocks to Pain Management. Now, this is the nuts and bolts of the program because it has to do with your thoughts. And our thoughts can make us crazy. It's our thinking that keeps us from making good in a program that works. Now, this program will work. It's a matter of a person being able to follow through and to practice all of the techniques. You follow this program and you are going to feel better. Now, our thinking usually leads to us feeling guilt, our shame, our pushing ourselves into taking control of things that is outside our control. And it makes you feel crazy. It's kind of like Chicken Little. Chicken Little, when the acorn, if you remember, Chicken Little or Henny Penny was the Aesop's fable in which the hen, while eating, one day an acorn fell on its head and it thought the sky was falling in. And the whole story is about how it got hysterical and ran out to tell the king about how the sky was going to fall in and the world is in a terrible place. But that was just an acorn. Henny Penny's or Chicken Little's thinking was wrong. It was irrational. And everything else that went from that kind of rational thought didn't fit. Made Henny Penny crazy. If A, as you see here, if A equals an event and B equals your thinking and C equals a feeling, what we've been taught in our culture is that A equals C. If something happens that hurts your feelings, then A equals C. The event, the feelings follow the event. But that's really not true. It is AB. It is our thinking that intervenes, the thought. Now let me explain why. Now I play cards with a group of guys, and I can, during that playing those cards, be told how stupid I am or other things which is not very socially acceptable. That doesn't hurt my feeling because my thought, the intervening thought, is that these are friends and this is just part of the fun. And I give the same out to them. But if I were out at a department store and someone told me a similar thing, my thinking would be different. The feelings that came from that event would be different. So when thinking is with reality, we feel sane. We feel regulated. We feel grounded. And when it's not with reality, when it's not real, then we feel a little crazy. We feel unregulated and ungrounded. Now, our thoughts come to us in terms of condensed ways. It's like flashes that move through our brain, and we call those self-talk. And self-talk is condensed memories with all kinds of associations to them. For instance, think about your favorite pet. Just get a picture in your head of your favorite pet. And as you think of that, just imagine there's a lot to that picture. There's a lot in there about the personality, your experiences. So it's a condensed version of a whole story that flashes through your head. Now, kind of like the devil and the angel on your shoulders, we're constantly evaluating how we're doing and how other people are doing with those same kind of flashes, that same kind of self-talk. How am I doing? I'm sitting here wondering as I'm talking with you how I'm doing, and you're sitting there wondering whether or not you're catching this. So we're always having this commentary going on about our performance, how we look, or how are we doing, how are we learning. And it is in those kinds of thoughts, those quick flashes, that our thinking comes through. It's the negative thoughts that we have that, as I said, drives us crazy. And there's certain styles of thinking. And I want you to, as I go through these, I want you to just get a feel of it. You don't have to write these down. And again, like I've said before, I'd really rather you sit back. You can come and play this over again at some other time, and you can write all your notes. Just get a feeling, and particularly this. The different styles I'm talking about now, I just want you to have an idea of what they're like, and rather than try to memorize the name of them. But we're going to call the first one all or none. Now, this is the kind of thinking in which if you're in pain and you have you've had some good time, but then you've had some bad time, then the whole day is no good. That if you've had pain all day, but there was some good experiences that you've had through the day, then the day is all bad. It is the all or none kind of thinking that we begin to use words like never, always, nobody. Now, the second one is pain obsession. This is when a person has the pain as the centerpiece of their life. Everything goes around it. Life is not just to live. Life is to experience the pain and to regulate the pain. It is that kind of thinking in which we don't get to experience anything but the negatives. And it is that kind of thinking in which you get so involved in the pain that you don't really pay much attention to your family and friends who are providing support for you. Then there's the shoulds and shouldn'ts. We're real good at that. Just think about it. The shoulds and the shouldn'ts. I should. I shouldn't. This runs doers' lives quite a bit. This is one of the main ones. And so it leads to us try to take control of things that we have no control over. Getting out and extending ourselves and going beyond our physical limits. It drives us into doing things for fear that somebody's going to be angry with us because we should do it or we shouldn't do it. Very restricting. Now, one part of I should or I shouldn't is they should and they shouldn't. Now, I'm really talking here about our children. You know, one of the things I hear a lot of in my groups in Oklahoma City is that the parent is always there to help the family, help the kids, help anyone. We're doers. We'll do all of that. But ask one of your kids to come help mow your lawn, and they're going to say, well, Dad, yeah, but I've got Survivor on tonight. So the feeling is, you know, that your kids don't care for you. It creates a whole different other set of negative and irrational thoughts. And let me just make this comment. One of the things that make us doers is we are trying to work hard to please other people so that we fit in, that we're accepted. There was always a question in our head as to whether or not we were acceptable. Now, we want with our children, generally we want them to know that they are loved. So we go to extremes to make sure that they're loved. We've always been most responsible, even at an early age. So we want our kids to be kids. So what do? We really kind of shoo them out. We don't want to stand in their way. So many of us have had other missions we were on that kept us from being a natural kid. And we were kind of precociously adult. So we shoo our own kids out to enjoy life and to be a kid. So one of the things they don't learn is to be responsible and to be considerate. Now, we had to learn that from many sources and for many reasons, but we don't teach that to our kids. They know they're loved, so they don't have to work real hard for that. So when your kids don't do those things for you, or they don't do it on time, then consider that it's not that they don't love you. They have been brought up with a whole different set of standards. We may talk more about that. The other one is perfectionism. Wow. Well, that's another one that we all specialize in because we never know when enough is enough. We continue to work and trying to get things perfect. And since things never can be perfect, we never know when we've done enough. At holidays, what I see is I have clients coming back in the group. They're hurting, they're bent over, they're complaining, and you say, well, what was your Thanksgiving like? Oh, well, I did all of this and did that, and when I finished cooking everything and everyone got there, I had to go lay down. Now, this is going to hit some of you. I hear it a lot because they wanted everything perfect. Another one is disqualifying positives. In other words, no matter what someone says, you're going to change that positive into a negative. That is, oh boy, that's a beautiful dress you've got on. Oh, I've had it for a long time. Or something more personal. When you say, honey, I can't work anymore. Do you love me? Well, sure, honey, I do love you. And if you use this kind of style of thinking, you're going to take that and make a net. Of course she would say that. I had a client one time that he just began to experience some relief with his relaxation. And I hope all of you are working with that relaxation every evening. But as he began to feel some changes in his negative, he said, Doc, one clown doesn't make a parade. The other thing's mind reading. This is when you think you know what somebody else is thinking or believing about you. And one that's very close to that is personalization. That's when you think that whatever is happening is because of you. A good example is I have a client that limped. And she did not want to go into a department store because she felt that when she limped into this department store, that everybody in the place began to look at her. And that they would have her on their minds all the way through the department store. Now, in reality, that can't be. Everybody's there for a different reason. But her thinking was that this was so important to her that it had to be so obvious and important to other people. It kept her from going out. She stayed at home for fear that someone would see it, for fear that, that she would hear, a cripple on aisle 9 or something like that. She stayed away from that. Negative predictions is another one. This is when someone tells yourself all kinds of ghost stories. If that, then what's next? And then what's next? And what's next? What happens is that if you want to start a whole line of ghost stories, if my pain continues, then I'm going to get worse. Well, yes. But then if I get worse, then I might be in a wheelchair. Well, yes. But then if I get in a wheelchair, and then I wouldn't be able, possibly I couldn't help myself. Yes. Well, you see what happens as you go down the line, and one does follow the other, but where you start or where you end is preposterous. You got someone with back pain that's winding up in a rest home. Makes no sense. Now, the last is controlling thinking. This is when you feel like your condition, your pain, you are being so controlled by the world, either the legal system or the docs, and or you feel that your pain and your condition has messed everybody up. It has controlled and ruined your family. That's irrational. Everybody has a response, and if they care for you, of course they're upset. But you are not responsible, nor can you make someone else depressed for any length of time. Negative thinking always leads to feelings of defeat and guilt because it's untrue and it's irrational. Now, some of those thoughts we've had since we were children, and those are the important ones to catch. Anytime that your mood changes, your pain level changes, our circumstances begin to change, any change that you feel in your life, you want to stop and ask yourself, what am I thinking? Because I hope by what I'm pointing out here, it's our thinking that determines whether we're feeling sane, whether we're on track, or we get off track. Like Chicken Little, who runs off onto some kind of quest to tell the king, you don't want to be on one of these side irrational quests, whatever it may be. And yet many of us have been on those quests of trying to help somebody. Now, I'm not talking about being considerate of others. I'm talking about trying to take control of them, which we cannot do. You know, our most potent negative thoughts come from our childhood. And they originate out of our experiences about work and chores and connectedness and whether or not we fit in. But we pull them and we carry them, and the reason that they're so important is that they have affected our experiences and how we interpret the world the longest. And so as you catch those thoughts, you want to always ask yourself, are these new thoughts based on just what I'm experiencing right now? Or are they also old ones that I've carried into all kinds of situations like this? The kinds of situations that bring about such thoughts is production. You know, you say to yourself, well, if I can't make a living, then I am of no worth. Another one is self-worth. If I'm disabled, then who's going to think I have anything to offer? Or the body image. You know, who wants to make love to me and the way I am? Another one is belonging. You know, I have to please everyone in order to belong. So the thoughts that you have that are the old ones will probably run into one of these, the production, self-worth, belonging, our body image. Another one is independence. If I ask people to help me, they're going to get tired of me. They're going to think that I am weak or that I really don't have much to offer. See, these are the things, as negative thoughts often do, that limit us, limit our use of our experiences, use the techniques that we have here that you're going to be learning in this program. It constricts you in using what you've learned. It pushes you out. Negative thoughts push you out into thinking you need to take control over things that you're you have no control over. It externalizes your view so that you now are out here rather than paying attention in here as to whether or not this is a task you should be doing. It promotes depression and a sense of helplessness. It promotes fear and the belief in disability. Maturing is really getting rid of those old negative thoughts that we've carried around most of our lives so that they don't interfere with us becoming the best version of ourselves. As you catch your thoughts, you want to write those down. And in here you can see the SMART chart. And you can fill out the SMART chart with your negative thoughts. First, you're going to write down what the thought is. And you might want to give it a little consideration. Don't write down the first thing, but write down what it is that is your thinking, what it is that you're saying about yourself. Then you want to find out and gather up all the reasons that thought is wrong. And in the last section here is you want to make a positive statement. Correct that statement and make it more positive. For instance, in the building that I work in is an elevator. And I thought, in terms of this situation, is how many times would that elevator have to drop? In 1,000 times, 10,000 times, for me to call it unsafe. One time. How many times would it take for things not fitting, your negative thought not being true, for you to begin to change that? You cannot call an elevator, I cannot call an elevator safe if it falls in 10 times, 10,000 times. And as you gather up through talking with friends, pulling together, talking to your doctor, whatever sources that you can use to pull together the facts. If Henny Penn or Chicken Little had looked at the facts and gathered up what was really going on, it wouldn't have been hysterical. You want to gather up the facts. And gather as many facts as kind of like you are now the defending attorney that's coming in and showing all the reasons that this is not so. And the more reasons that you find that your negative thought is not so, the more you got to change it in the third column. Now, like I said, you want to pay attention anytime your mood changes. You want to pay attention anytime you think your thoughts have changed or your pain level has changed. What are you thinking? And then see if that thought is real or not by using the chart. Those thoughts that you know have been around for a long time, then you want to write that corrected statement out and put it up on your bathroom mirror so that you see it every day, so that you correct that every day. Another area is worrying. Worrying is kind of like flies on acid. They continue to whirl around you. You can't get them away. Your mind begins to try, whether you're laying in bed or you're driving or whatever you're doing, when you're worrying, your mind is flipping through all kinds of channels, really kind of like the search button on a radio, where it's trying to find the best solution, trying to find the best channel. But the problem is, those flashes you see are condensed meanings. They're condensed associations. And your mind can't grasp that you have solved a problem because it's not put down in a sentence. So you need to write them out, and you're going to need to look at the worry chart and to fill that worry chart out. Now, the first thing you want to do is to figure out what it is that you're worried about and write that out. And then decide whether this worry is realistic. You know, a few years ago, we had killer bees that were coming into our state, from Texas or wherever. This was years ago. They haven't got here. There may be a concern about paying a bill that's going to be coming up in a month or two. But is it realistic to think about and worry about it today? So you want to look at whether it's timely, realistic. Is there a real meaning? Is there a purpose? Something I can do, which takes care of the third section here. Is it under my control? Most of the things are not in our control. As I've said before, we have control of here in. We don't have control of anything else. And if it is from here out, then in that column, you don't have any control over it. The last column here is your policy. So based on your worry, whether it's realistic, how much control you have, you're going to write a policy statement. Now the policy statement, you're going to write it out because then your brain will know that you're done with it, that you've come to a solution. That means that every time you begin to have this worry coming on, then you can go back and know that you have already come up with the best solution. Let me give you an example. Let's say that your worry is that somebody is going to be angry with you because you can't go over and help them put up all the decorations for the party because your back or your neck is bothering you, or that you're in a pain crisis. Well, that's the worry. They're going to be mad at me. Is that realistic? Well, I guess they could be, but do you have any control over it? No. You have no control over what people are going to think. The only thing you have control over is what you're going to do. So your policy statement would be something like, I'm worried that somebody's going to get angry with me for not putting up the decorations. But I don't really have any control of how they're going to respond to me. All I have control about is whether or not I'm going to do something I need to do for myself, whether I'm going to take care of myself. That is your policy. So that when that worry gets swirling around your head again, you can stop it. And that search button gets to rolling again, you can stop it because the policy statement is your best solution. Now, so don't worry and watch those thoughts. Those thoughts are going to help you either move through this program or it's going to stop you from moving through this program. Listen to your relaxation tapes. And I'll see you again. This is Gene Hawkins, and I'll see you next time.